Shalom, shalom, everyone. Welcome to Torah is for Everyone. I want to do something a little bit differently this week because when I was reading it, I was looking at all the it's a double part parasha, Vayakhel Pekudei, and it looked like I was reading the same things over and over again, and reading all the things that are inside the Mishkan, and almost exactly a repeat of what we read last time. And I was thinking, how should we look at the Torah? Is it a religious book filled with strict rules and regulations on what we do and what we're not to do? And, you know, I was thinking of this looking at a big, beautiful building. That's an architectural masterpiece. Do I stand back and admire the structure? Or do I stop to look at every nail that's gone into it, every plank of wood, everything that made up its construction? Or do I step back in order to see the bigger picture? And that's exactly what our rabbi taught us about the Torah, how to look at it. So when I was reading the verses, and now I don't know how many of you have read the verses, but what I saw was that there is a recurrent theme mirrored in this parasha, last week's parasha, and basically in the Torah in general. And here, let me just share the screen. So we're going to start, it starts here with Moses gathering the people. And then it says, 6 days work shall be done. So the first thing he's doing, he's speaking to us about the Shabbat. Whoever does work on it, it says, Yumat. Yumat, last week we read, Mot Yumat. You shall surely die. This time it just says, Yumat. And our sages explain that the Torah deliberately chose Yumat to mark Shabbat violation during the construction of Mishkan in a way that heaven enforces death rather than an earthly court. So Mot Yumat was an earthly court that would convict us to death. But here, it's like God is saying, you're going to die. So how do we look at that today? What does that mean for us today? If we don't keep the Shabbat today, are we going to die? What do you think? What is he saying?
Uh, I'm just off the top. You're not going to die, but the fullness of what can be in a relationship with God is won't be experienced, or won't be you. It's like not. You can't maintain a relationship for a long time when it's always long distance, or you're doing other things.
You're gonna have some bad times.
Severing the relationship, or not
We're not.
experiencing the richness of the relationship with God.
It's all about a relationship. And if we don't set apart this one day and give it to God, what we're saying is, God, we don't believe you. We don't trust you. And a lot of people get sick when they don't take a day's rest, when they don't give themselves a break. The other thing about this is that we are no longer slaves. Now we don't belong to the gods of Egypt. We belong to God, to the God of the universe. So then the next thing it says, kindle no fire. Okay, you shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Shabbat. So what does it mean? It means that we can't cook or light any lights. It means it's okay to have a Gentile come in and open our lights, or like some Karaite Jews who will sit in the dark all day. What does it mean? Didn't the Kohanim light fires? Didn't they kindle a fire to do the offerings on Shabbat? See, we have to step back. What is God saying to us? What are the ideas behind this? Because they had to add wood to the fire. Remember, they had to keep the Ner Tamid going. So they had to kindle fire. You know, one of the things that fire was used for in those days was to be able to work. Well, they didn't have electricity like we have. So it was different. Did it have something really to do with being in our house and cooking? Remember the word lo melacha, melachto, do not work on the Shabbat day. And the word melach comes from salt, from which we get the word salary. Salt was a commodity that was traded. So here, God separated a day of the week. Now God is separating his people, teaching us to trust him rather than to fight, to work alone to make a living. We're no longer slaves, having to work 7 days a week. So all these things are giving us pictures. So we have to kind of put them all together. And the day would be a living testimony that God sustains the world, which echoes creation. And then you look at the Exodus, Israel stopped working like slaves. We get all these pictures. We have to step back. The next things we're going to read. So we have one theme, Shabbat. Don't kindle a light. Next, it says, take you from among you an offering to the Lord. Whoever has a willing heart, let him bring it, an offering of gold. So, and then it goes through all the things that we were to bring from verses 5 to 29. And I'm not going to read them because we've read them before and they're repeated here again. So these are offerings for God that we had to come with a willing heart. Otherwise, don't bother. We can't fool God. We saw that right at the beginning with Cain and Abel. Cain brought an offering. Was he really willing? He brought an offering. Abel brought the best. So those who don't give with a willing heart will always struggle. So here we have free will. That's a gift. Then, if we continue reading on, let me go to the next. Hang on a second.
Also, you have to be willing, but that's even another step.
Yes.
You could want to get closer to God. And let's say, I'm talking about myself sometimes, sometimes let's just say you're really tired or you'd rather be watching a movie that's on, whatever.
Right.
But you could pretend and pretend that those things don't. You have to know yourself, and you cannot just say, "Well, I won't. I'm not going to watch a movie," and then stiffly keep the Shabbat, always regretting that you really want to watch a movie. Or else you could say, just be honest with God and with yourself, and say, "Help me to be willing because I want to honor your Shabbat." And so don't pretend. Like there's a fine line between pretending and self-righteousness. But when you're honest with yourself, so you need, even God will give you, if you really want to be close to God, he says, there's so many passages in the scriptures that talk about God giving you things, even like mercy and kindness. People think of things like, money, and he'll keep you from starving, which are all true, but he will also give you attributes if you really mean it in your heart that you want to get closer to God.
Yes.
He will help you even in that.
Exactly. And then if we go on here, we go to the same chapter 35, and here verses 30, and then this goes right to 36:4. We see that he's choosing this man, Bezalel, son of Uri, and he fills him with the Ruach Elohim, a spirit of God. He gives them wisdom. He gives a gift of understanding, of knowledge, and every kind of workmanship. So this is a picture that he chooses us. He chose you, Brian. He chose you, Miriam. Richard, he chose you. He chose me. And he put special gifts inside us. All our gifts are a little different. But those with the willing heart, he gives the wisdom and understanding to know how to do the work. Because we all have gifts. But it's then, what do we do with these gifts? There are people who have been given beautiful voices, gifts that, like a voice from heaven. But if they go and join a heavy metal band and the music is like so dark and heavy, are they using their gifts for God? Or they're using their gifts for themselves or for whatever other system they're living under? Then in verses, let's continue, 8 to 38, all these verses are talks about the gifts that God gave Bezalel and here Aholiab, and every wise-hearted man in whose heart the Lord put wisdom, everyone whose heart stirred him up to come and do the work. They received of Moses the offering which the people of Israel had brought for doing the work of the sanctuary. Everybody would be brought together to put all their gifts that God gave them into this very special place. And Bezalel led the work on making the ark, the keruvim, the utensils on the tables, the dishes, the spoons. We would see all the things that he would do. The cover of gold that would be used all in the service. He was a gifted artist. He made the menorah, all the things for the altar. Then we get to chapter 38, verses 1 to 32, are more descriptions of all the work of the Mishkan, in the Mishkan, according to what God told Moses. So here we see length of curtains, all the loops, all these things that we read before. And I'm not going to go over it again. Lampstand of gold here. He made the altar, the utensils, everything that was made right up to verse, let me see. Now we're in the second parasha. So this is the sum of the things of the tabernacle of testimony as was counted. Then it talks again, Bezalel, Aholiab, all the gold that was used. So God told Moses how to set up everything. And he had people helping. He didn't have to do the work on his own. Then he was working on the costume, the beautiful pieces that were made. Are someone saying something? Brian, are you saying something?
No, I'm just telling somebody else not to talk.
Okay, I'm going to put you on mute, okay? So you don't have to worry. Okay, so here they made the shoulder pieces. And we'll continue with the beautiful onyx stones. He made the breastplate. Now, we have to understand what was going on here. Because remember, the costumes or the outfits, the garments that were used, that were worn by the priests of Egypt were magnificent. The temples inside were magnificent. And God was going to do something very special. So we have number 1, he starts with the Shabbat. Gift number 2, we have free will. Everyone who has a willing heart, no longer slaves. Then we have gift number 3, talents, wisdom, skill to be used in honoring the God who loves his creation. All these things are being prepared for the epitome, the climax, which would be, let me continue on here, the Ark of the Testimony. He builds this beautiful ark, and within the ark, they place the greatest gift that God could give to humanity, the keys to long and healthy life on earth, are the Ten Commandments. This is being placed in the ark. And then when the cloud was taken up over the tabernacle, the children of Israel would go on. When the cloud was not taken up, they could not journey. The cloud of the Lord had descended. At one point, it had descended in a way that not even Moses could enter the tent. So God was completely covering this tabernacle. The Mishkan was, let me see if this is the last. Yeah, this is we end here. When the cloud was taken up, for the cloud of the Lord was upon the tabernacle by day, and fire was on it by night in the sight of all the house of Israel throughout their journeys. Now I'm going to stop the share. Okay. So we've left Egypt, and God is going to begin to do something that's very similar to a drug addict. Remember when a drug addict wants to get off drugs, what do they give him?
Another drug that's not as strong.
Exactly. Methadone for a heroin addict.
Right.
So the Mishkan was like the methadone given to drug addicts. And it was to be used until we were free from the gods of Egypt or any of the other gods. And the Mishkan represented this temporary drug until we could be weaned away from the drugging of the gods of Egypt. He would slowly turn our focus from the glorious temples of Egypt to the Mishkan. The Mishkan was ugly on the inside, on the outside, but golden and glorious on the inside.
But to teach us, just to make sure other people get it.
Yes.
Not that it was, I know what you're saying, but I don't know, just to be clear for everyone else who doesn't have the context, that in itself, it was a beautiful thing, and to show us a beautiful thing, the existence and presence of the only God of the creation, of all of creation. So, but, we weren't, let's say, strong enough or mature enough to know that God is with us always and every
Right.
We are still, now we have to grow. It takes a lot of living to fully understand that. So it was a teaching method. I would rather say that than a drug. And I know what you mean, though. It's
of course, Miriam.
No,
I'm
Peggy,
just
I
giving
know,
you a
but
picture. It's a
no, but I
picture.
know that. I just don't
Yeah.
know if people who don't know the context understand what you're
Well, that's
saying.
why we're talking. We're giving context here.
Right.
Because it's the same as us. We spent many years of our lives, you and I especially, focused on a lot of other gods.
Right.
And God would take us and redirect our focus until we could focus slowly upon the things that we need to do for the invisible God. We were busy following the systems of the world. When we look at what our people are focused on today, what Israel is focused on, would you say that we're free from the idols of the past?
No,
And
not as a collective group.
what are our gods today? What would you say?
So many things. Our own egos, our own ability to do things ourselves, our supposed independence. We don't need anybody. We don't need a God. Money, sex, material gain, all sorts of things.
Yeah. One of the things that God gives us pictures, like even the physical body, our body has systems. We have the digestive system, the respiratory system, the lymphatic system, the cardiovascular. We have all these systems in order to be a complete being. The world is comprised of systems. In many ways, they mimic some of the systems in our bodies. Right now, The world has created many systems. We have religious systems, whereas God's system is not a religious one, even though people have been used to the term, well, I believe in God, I'm religious. And to them, that could be it. But when I look at a religious system, we have so many of them today, so many religious patterns. Like Richard, before you were we got on, we were talking about what kind of religious systems do we have today where we have man-made rules and regulations. Like, for instance, we have the Shabbat. Basically, what God says in the Torah, from my understanding and He said, don't work on Shabbat. He didn't make a lot of rules for us. Don't, stay at home, rest, don't go to work. Why? Because I want you to know that you can trust me. I want to give you a day off. You're not a slave anymore. So the picture is that God has our back. He's our covering. But when we add so many rules and regulations that religious people have done to the Shabbat, it makes it, even though they say it's not a burden, they're almost running around like chickens without a head to get ready for Shabbat. Same thing for Pesach. People are now going mad at home. I went to the store, the grocery store tonight, and during the day, and I saw how all the shelves are being cleared and all the things for Pesach are being put on. So many different products, Pesach products, and things that are, we have to throw away, we have to get rid of, when the only thing that he tells us to do, don't eat yeast. Why? Yeast represents pride. He makes things simple for us, but the systems that we have created make things extremely complicated and in many cases very discouraging for people, so that they turn away from God. They said, if that's God, I'm not interested. Do you want to say something about that, Richard?
Some people like the rules. I mean, it's not hurting anybody.
No, you're right. One of the
Some
things our
people
rabbi
like
would
that.
No, but one of the things our rabbi would say is, if a tradition brings you closer to God, good. Nobody's telling you not to do it. But when you enforce things upon people so that they turn away from our God and they don't want anything, and we're no longer a united people who are a light to the nations, that's when our enemy comes against us. There's a reason for that. He wants us to be united under him, not under systems.
They're gonna start April the 2nd.
Pardon?
They're gonna start April the 2nd over here.
Okay. I'm sorry, Richard. I don't want to sound discouraging. But I look at the world, it really is a mess right now. There's a war. All the systems of the world are at war with God's systems. Every single one is under attack. The religious system, the health system, the education system, the system of marriage that he gave us, political systems, legal systems, they're all under attack because we have lost the simple, basic commandments that he gave us. We talk about all the other rules and regulations, but why aren't the Ten Commandments read in shuls anymore? Why aren't they taught in our schools? Why have they been taken out of our courtrooms? Slowly they're coming back. I'm noticing that under President Trump, people are coming back and bringing it back. But even the Ten Commandments that's being brought back are changed. The first one was changed. The fourth one is changed. People think it's okay that Shabbat is removed and instead it's a Sunday or a Friday. And I'm just saying that if we continue to add or take away from his words, which he said do not do, we are going to suffer the consequences. I don't care what other people do. It's okay if you want to do it, but then don't get angry if we suffer consequences.
Not from doing it, from not doing it in the right context.
Yes. In Isaiah 1, verses 13 and 14, God says, I hate your Chodeshim, your Moedim. He's saying yours, not his. He gave us Rosh Chodesh. He gave us the head of the month. But we have made so many extra rules around it that he hates it. Why would God say that? I'm not saying I hate it. God is saying it. He hates that we think we have to have two sets of dishes at Pesach. You can do it if you want, but don't impose that on people. Yeshua himself said when he was speaking to his brothers, the Pharisees, he says, you run miles and miles to make one proselyte, and you put such heavy burdens upon them that even you are not willing to keep. You see, God gave us free will, and systems remove our free will so that we follow theirs. Do they have our interests at heart?
No.
This is like, for example, when we were kicked out of Israel the first time and sent to Babylon. Why? We're his chosen people. It's our land. Why did he kick us out of our land? For 490 years, we didn't observe the Shemitah, the Shabbat year of the land. And he says, my land will have its Shabbats. And he kicked us out into Babylon. That was one of the things that we did wrong. And then it says, our Nehemiah, after 70 years, it was a prophecy, we would be able to go back to the land. And the king of Persia, he sent Nehemiah to rebuild a wall around Jerusalem. But it says in Nehemiah, in the 5th chapter, during the wall construction, there was a famine, and heavy Persian taxes forced many commoners to mortgage their lands and even sell their children into slavery to buy food and pay taxes. But it says wealthy Jewish nobles were charging high interest on these loans, which was a violation of Jewish laws, which Nehemiah stopped by demanding they return the seized property and cancel the interest. See, we are called to be better than the others. We are called to be an example.
Hello?
Miriam?
Sorry.
Okay. It's not easy for us to hear this. And then it says, while Nehemiah was away, the high priest at that time was Yashuv. He cleared out a large room in the temple, which was meant to store grain, the grain offerings, frankincense, and tithes for the Levites. We had to provide for our Levites. But he cleaned that out to provide a personal residence for Tobiah, an enemy of the rebuilding project. This diversion of resources caused the Levites to abandon their temple duties because they lost their financial support. Their tithes were no longer being provided. Let me make myself clear. I am not singling out my people out of bias or hate. I love my people. But I get upset the way Yeshua did. When we do what the world does, because God doesn't want us to be like the nations. He says, you're in the world, but you're not of it. We need to know that we are held to a higher standard. You, Richard, you work in an accounting firm. If you, okay, I don't know. You're not an accountant?
Um, I am an accountant. I don't work in a firm. So make your point.
You're a financial analyst, whatever you are, but you are
No,
held, but whatever is, you are held to a higher standard. You need to be honest. You need to have equal measure, just measurements. You can't steal. You need to be above board. Because when people look at you, if you speak at all about God or his Torah, you are a reflection of his. We were chosen by God as a people, whether we like it or not. My father used to say, let him choose someone else for a change. Why are we suffering? But we are chosen by God to be a light, or legoyim. And when we're not reflecting his light, it reflects poorly on him, the one who chose us.
You have to be honest with everything.
Yes, God does not take this lightly, and he turns his face from us. Even Moses asked to see his face. But he's not turning his face out of revenge or to watch us suffer. He's pure light. He's not emotional like we humans are. Light needs to turn from darkness or it will destroy everything in it, which is why he said last week, he got so upset with the people after the golden calf. He told Moses, I'm not going any further with you because I'll end up destroying the people. Because darkness cannot stand in the presence of light. So he turns his face from us out of compassion and love for us so that he won't destroy us. He doesn't make decisions based on human emotion. They are born out of natural consequences of us turning away from his protection. You know, we have each been given talents and gifts, every one of us. And we need to bring these under God, or the world system will use them for their submission, like the communist system. Everyone's talents belong to the states and are used to glorify the God of the state, whoever runs the state. Today they're talking about a new world order. And who's going to be the head of the system? I don't know. But finally, the commandments, the 10 commandments, are the system that God handed us. It's the only one which expresses equality for all humans. And the only head is God. And he allows us space to grow and express ourselves within the safe boundaries of the 10 commandments. The system is simple. We have created a system today that is out of control. This is my personal view of how I see things. I learned it from my rabbi, probably taking a little further. But Miriam, can you want to add to it? Is it something that you're on mute?
I totally agree with what you're saying. It's like everything I'm drawn to when I read, there's something. I remember reading some sort of line that something came from the land of goodness. Like when I think of the land of goodness, or I think of the Garden of Eden, all these stories, or they're so alive and almost shining with beauty, and they reflect to me the idea that God has put himself, his love, his presence into our very hearts. And that's what to me, God's morality has been given to us, a moral code. Because I was just listening again, I really like Jordan Peterson, but I was listening to different interviews, and there are what's called the horsemen. There are four very famous atheists, and he was interviewing them. one of them particularly, and they were talking about morality, and when you have relative morality, like what's right for you is not right for me, and blah blah blah, there ends up being chaos because then you can excuse things that are really wrong according in God's eyes and through the eyes of the filter of the Ten Commandments, that you end up with horror because there's no given or bottom line to say something is good or bad unless
Right.
something outside of us establishes that. If it's just up to us, well, that's good for me, but it's not good for you. I mean, we can say that about certain tastes and certain preferences, but not about right and wrong. There is really objective right or wrong. Anyway, that's why I really like this, almost simplicity of it, that God gave us the Ten Commandments to be ambassadors and to the rest of the world, and said we should be a light to the Gentiles.
Yeah.
And that's really what the simple, to me, mandate was for us as a people.
Right. He's put us, we all have a circle of influence where we work, our families, our friends, where we live, our neighbors. And every single thing that we do, every decision that we make has to be based on some kind of moral code. And who has this moral code? Which is the moral code that is the heart and foundation of truth? The only one we have is the Torah, the commandments that were written by the finger of God. If you don't believe those, there's really nothing more that I can say. It doesn't mean that we can't do extra things, like I light Shabbat lights. It's not in the Torah. I like the tradition. But I won't make myself crazy with so many extra rules and regulations that make me that exhaust me, because it's hard enough to keep the simple 10 than to have to worry about all the others. And everywhere I go, I want to reflect God's light. And it's a struggle, because inside me there's we have the Yetzer Hara, the Yetzer HaTov. We have an inclination to do wrong, and we have the inclination to do right. And the only way to know right from wrong is what God gave us. So as we read the Torah, let's step back. You missed the beginning of it, Jerry. And I was talking, I don't know when you came in, but basically I was talking about how in this double parasha, God gave us a theme, like a thread that goes through the parasha. And it begins with, he started by giving us the Shabbat. We don't work anymore on that day because we're no longer slaves. Then he gave us the next gift, the gift of free will, so that we can make choice. Do we choose right? Do we choose wrong? Do we choose life, or do we choose death? And then we wonder, when we choose the wrong things, why are we sick? God said, he told us, if you will follow my commandments and be obedient to my word, all the illnesses that I put upon Egypt I will not put upon you. So, and he says, I want you to have a heart that's willing to do the right thing and not to be a slave to systems. And then gift number 3, he gave us talent, wisdom, skills that would be used to honor God, who gave us a creation that's absolutely magnificent, to take care of it and to take care of each other. And then the 4th gift is the 10 Commandments, which are the key to live long and healthy lives on earth. It's so simple, but it's not easy. Do you have any comments, Jer?
Well, I just came on. I was I did not come on purposely. I was previously,
I know you have another one on Tuesday nights. I know.
no, but
Yeah.
I sometimes come on anyhow, a little earlier anyhow.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to tonight. But I came on. I was very happy to see everyone here. I mean, these usual here, like Richard and Brian and Miriam and you were speaking. I was
Baruch to you.
was very uplifting just to see you guys.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. Yes, Baruch.
Toby says you're crazy. Says to me,
Who-
I'm crazy.
You're crazy. Why are you crazy?
Tom Jones, is he black or white?
Tom Jones
The singer.
is white.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Caucasian.
And what does she think?
He's gonna get my answer tomorrow. I had somebody, I photographed from the Wikipedia that he's white, and then
Yeah.
somewhere along the line, he kind of looks black because his hair is curly.
Oh, maybe.
But
Okay.
he's Welsh and whatever it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that really doesn't have a lot to do with our portion tonight, Brian, but it's okay.
This is the.
We're all a little crazy. Does it fit or is it too big?
I like the size.
It gives you
I got it
extra
over my
room.
head or best, but I still gonna have it go put my name in.
Okay.
What's
Okay.
the
I'm
news
glad.
And
with
like the
your
two buckets
operation?
here and two buckets from inside. Like I can go in the theater and carry in the inside pocket something when they don't want you to bring your stuff in.
You sure it's not too big on you? You want me to get you a smaller one?
No.
No? Okay, good. I'm glad. Anyway, let's leave that for now because right now we're on the parasha. It's a double parasha. We're ending the book of Exodus. Then next week, we're going to begin Vayikra, which takes place really over a period of 1 month. And it's the inauguration of the priesthood. It's always a little more difficult for me when I do that, and I'm really going to have to stretch my spiritual muscles to see what we can come out of this. And Richard, did you have anything more you wanted to say? Because you look very unhappy. I don't want you to be unhappy.
No, I'm not unhappy. No, I'm just thinking and learning and processing.
Which is
Okay,
good.
I've got inner conflicts about this. If you're talking about rules and principles, like having a rule to follow, like having a principle to have a day off of no work, as if to say that everyone can intuitively know what that means and not conflict with other people, it's hard to do.
Of course, it's hard to do. It's going to be impossible for us as humans to do.
If a principle was set up, you're bound to have people that make rules around it. Okay, it's foreseeable.
Yes.
You brought up accounting. Well, it just so happens that in accounting, some accountants advocate principles and some advocate rules. All right? We have a rule, at least in the West, that says that financial reports, what's called forwarding. But
you got stuck. I missed that. You got stuck and I missed everything you said.
Okay. So in accounting, there's some advocates for principles and there's some for rules. All right?
And rules can be bent, but can you change principles?
Well, for example, in the West, there's a principle for financial reporting that has a standard of fair reporting. Right? Fair reporting. Some countries don't have that. Okay, but we can talk about that some other time. But unless you got rules to go around to adhere to that, especially when you're talking about publicly held corporations, you can't rely upon people's being principled. All right? So, so far as religion is concerned, I'm kind of have a part of me that's free and easy. All right, and I have this other part that likes rules. All right,
That's because you're a Jewish Californian.
so and there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just listening and learning. So I'm going
Yeah.
to mute myself. I'm still here.
It reminds me a little bit about what our rabbi used to speak about the law. And he would talk about how there's the modern day law has built all these legal books on precedents. You know, you have a case that is judged according to something that happened. And then the next person, instead of their case being judged on its own merit, it may be judged on the precedent. And that maybe is what you're talking about, Richard. But remember, we're dealing in a world system that has become so complicated and top heavy, and we're dealing with governments and people who are not just. We're not living in a just world. So it's very hard for us to be just within it, but we need to do the best that we can with what we know. And I mean, I'm talking about simple, basic humanity, what Yeshua said, or like what Hillel said, don't do to others what you don't want them to do to you. And Yeshua said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So that's the principles we need to live by. If you don't want somebody to treat you a certain way, don't treat them that way. If somebody's treating you that way, take a look. Maybe you are treating other people that way. It's constant self-examination. It's constant getting that Yetzer Hara and taming it. We'll never be able to get rid of it as long as we're in these bodies. Because life is a struggle, it's a battle between good and evil. And God wants us to choose life, which is why He gave us the commandments, so that we know how. And sometimes it's not all black and white. There's a lot of gray. Miriam is great at helping me with the gray because I'm very black and white. And I'm so grateful to have her as my friend because I very often I'll go to her and I'll ask her how she sees something, and she's going to give me a perspective that I didn't see. And I'll ask someone else, and they give me another perspective. And one of the things that it says in the Proverbs is that in the counsel of many lies wisdom. So we're not lone wolves. We are accountable and responsible for each other. And that's the beauty of walking with God. God wants to walk with us. We don't always want Him in certain parts of our life because we're very comfortable the way we are and we don't want to change. And we have a friend.
I'd like to say,
Pardon?
I'd like to say something else.
Sure. Go ahead.
There's this lady here. She's Jewish. She came from Canada. She went to New Hampshire. She thinks she's a
American.
American, and she didn't marry a kosher guy,
Okay.
and she wants to get back. She doesn't realize because they send her back here. All she has to do is go and get a passport if she wants to go back to the States.
I think that if she's there in Maimonides, it's because she's Nishmat Alaman. So I know who she is, and I don't think that she's well enough to be able to travel, to go back. You know, you have
Move around in wheelchairs. She's gonna ask for adaptive service or sign up with the MUTC STM, and they'll bring her to the building where you can get a passport.
yeah, that's true, but I don't know if she's able to move back to the States.
She only got out to get
You don't know all the issues in her life, Brian. You
her
know,
passport was up. She had to get a passport. That's
yeah,
why
I
they
know.
kicked her back.
So was mine. I have to get a new
Did you
passport.
get
I
yours
do.
yet, Peggy?
But my
No, no,
sister, she's living in the States. She has no passport.
she has no passport.
She's
Oh,
still
well.
living. She doesn't.
No.
She doesn't come into Canada. She. I say she goes. She drives carefully. Don't attract to make us stop. You know, we're speeding, lady.
Right.
Hides under the thing, and she's living in the States.
Okay. All right. Well, I got very excited looking at the how to kind of I love looking at systems. I think I've always felt that I've lived outside every system that I've ever been involved in. You know, I look at the medical system, the pharmaceutical systems, what they've done to our health, and I've lived outside that. Thank God. You know, we have to live within a system, but we have to reflect God's wisdom within the system. Don't just believe everything that we're told. We have to think. God gave us a brain. Don't just believe something just because we're told. So the Torah is wonderful for that. Anyway, thank you for joining me tonight, everybody.
Thank you, Peggy.
And I really, I love these times. I look forward to them. And
Yeah.
let's continue to dance with the Torah. And Richard, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Bye.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Shabbat shalom.
Bye, Jerry. Bye,
Shabbat
Brian. Bye,
shalom.
Peggy.